Of Long Island's many lost Gilded Age mansions, Rosemary Farm sticks out as a unique experiment in living. With a theater boasting seating for 3,000 guests complete with its own moat, to unconventional uses for European architectural salvage, this is one of the most unique setups we've seen from this period. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. Roland Conklin's journey to fortune began far from Long Island. Born in Urbana, Illinois in 1858, he graduated from the University of Illinois in 1880 and headed west to Kansas City. There he teamed up with his brother Stanley and partner Samuel Jarvis to ride the era's real estate boom. They co-founded the Jarvis Conklin Mortgage and Trust Company, which rapidly grew by financing and developing new residential neighborhoods on the American frontier. In Kansas City, Missouri, their firm is credited with developing the Hyde Park district and other upscale subdivisions. But they didn't stop there. Jarvis Conklin expanded into Cleveland and even helped create Roland Park in Baltimore, one of the nation's first planned garden suburbs. At its height, the company was so ambitious it opened an overseas branch in London in 1889, becoming one of the first American banks with an international office. This rapid expansion hit a wall with the Panic of 1893, a financial crisis that wreaked havoc on railroads and real estate ventures nationwide. Jarvis Conklin Mortgage and Trust collapsed in the aftermath, wiping out Conklin's initial fortune. Yet he proved resilient, and by 1896 he had reorganized the remnants of his business into a new venture, the North American Trust Company, and moved operations to New York City. Good timing and Conklin's bold vision turned this setback into an even greater opportunity. After the Spanish-American War in 1898, the United States needed financial infrastructure in its new territories, and Conklin's firm was appointed the official U.S. fiscal agent in Cuba. He relocated to Havana and oversaw the founding of the first American bank there, the National Bank of Cuba, along with the island's telephone companies and even railroads. In effect, he helped build Cuba's transportation and communications networks in the early 1900s, vastly enlarging his wealth and influence. This cosmopolitan period set the stage for Conklin's next act back in the US, where he would channel his fortune into an estate of almost theatrical grandeur. By the turn of the 20th century, Roland Conklin was ready to establish a permanent home befitting his success. In 1893, amid his New York banking ventures, Conklin purchased 200 acres of hilly woodland in Lloyd Harbor, Long Island as the site for a country estate. For about a decade, he left the acreage largely untouched, but around 1906, he embarked on creating his dream home. He commissioned noted Philadelphia architect Wilson Eyre to design a grand residence atop the highest hill, one that would command sweeping views of Cold Spring Harbor and the Long Island Sound. Construction was completed by 1907, and Conklin named the property Rosemary Farm, a sentimental choice honoring his young daughter Rosemary. The main house was a sprawling red brick mansion of approximately 30 rooms, blending Georgian and classical elements. Period descriptions praised its gracious design. Sleeping porches and terraces took in sea breezes, and imported European antiques, from Italian marble doorways to a Portuguese church organ, filled its halls. With the mansion complete, Conklin turned to landscaping the grounds on a lavish scale. He and his wife Mary, herself a former opera singer, were avid patrons of the arts. They envisioned their estate not just as a private retreat, but as a place for culture and entertainment among friends. Conklin hired the Olmsted brothers to design formal gardens and improve the rolling landscape. The defining feature of Rosemary Farm, and Conklin's most ambitious addition, was the open-air amphitheater he built in the estate's natural bowl. Around 1912, his wife expressed a desire to host a grand theatrical and musical performance for their circle of friends, many of whom were leading actors, conductors, and singers of the day. Seizing on the idea, Conklin decided to transform a deep ravine southwest of the mansion into a massive outdoor theater. The plans drawn up in 1912 envisioned semicircular grass-seating terraces built into the hillside, accommodating nearly 3,000 spectators and separated from the stage by a water-filled moat. For the interior, countless revisions were made by the architect to suit the Conklin's grand plans for entertaining, with series after series of sketches to ensure perfection. The heart of the home would become the central hall, the largest room in the house where live music could ring out from the balcony above. In keeping with the home's theatrical flair, the grand staircase swept out of the entrance hall, going over a partition wall to cut through the living hall. Just below it, a built-in pipe organ would bellow music on any given night in the house, whether it was for a small dinner party or an event with thousands in attendance. Directly opposite, the floor-to-ceiling fireplace could consume entire trees within hours, keeping the atmosphere alive and the massive space warm. Next we'll head over to the library, which also went through a series of designs as the architect and Conklins went back and forth on how to best incorporate their collection of European architectural salvage. The result, much like the final sketches, included an arcade that was repurposed in each archway to hold a doorway, a fireplace, and a bookshelf. Though of utmost importance was probably the music room, which could be filled with opera singers and orchestras when their outdoor concerts would be rained out. Let's skip over to the breakfast room and head below a colonnade of serpentine columns adorned with delicately carved wooden flowers. This brings us to the dining room, set below a Jacobean ceiling and anchored on a salvaged European white marble fireplace mantel. We can get a close look at this, admiring the mantel's centuries-old scrollwork and noting that the family still had it installed with its chips and cracks left unrepaired, truly showcasing its age. Upstairs, the creativity and unconventional design choices continue into the couple's bedroom, first and foremost for the time period being that they share this room instead of keeping separate beds. Second, to maximize natural light, the walls were covered in windows, leaving the only large enough space to display their antique tapestries up in the rafters of the hammer beam ceiling. Unfortunately, Mary passed away in 1919 at only 48 years old. Without her, the grand home they had created together lost much of its charm for him. Conklin's children were growing up, and he began withdrawing from the high society life at Rosemary Farm, and not long after, he decided to give up the estate entirely. In 1920, he arranged to transfer Rosemary Farm to the Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn. By 1924, the deal was finalized, and construction began to convert the property into the Seminary of the Immaculate Conception. Meanwhile, Conklin picked up an earlier project that he had tinkered on in his free time and went full speed ahead with promoting the Roland Gas Electric Vehicle Company, which he had founded in 1913 to build innovative gasoline-electric buses. He also continued his philanthropy. Notably, Conklin had donated the iconic alma mater statue that graces the University of Illinois campus in 1919, and after a fit of pneumonia, he passed away in 1938. Over the following decades, Rosemary Farm's legacy as a private estate had largely faded until an unfortunate event brought it back into the headlines. In December 1990, just as the diocese was considering selling the old Conklin mansion to private buyers, tragedy struck. The vacant mansion was largely destroyed in a fire set by vandals. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about this unique estate? Let me know down below in the comments section, and while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.